Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, and tonight we're talking Mr. Banks. Yeah, that's right. It's our general Disney discussion show, and we're talking about Star Wars. Yeah, I'm still getting used to categorizing Star Wars under general Disney. It's just weird to me. It's like, oh, Star Wars should just really be its own. I don't know, but I digress. Regardless of the fact that Disney owns Star Wars, I think it's a great thing. I'm very optimistic about this new trilogy, and I'm here to talk about this new trilogy. I actually don't think we've made very many Star Wars videos, which is kind of odd because like there's just been so many rumors and facts and just information coming out about it. Um, I guess let me just get my opinions out about Episode 7 really quick before I dive into the incredibly exciting news that we got today for Episode 8, but I'll save that for later. I am just personally stoked about this, so Episode 7, we got all the gang back together, of course. We got Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, some newcomers, Mr. Adam Driver, and a host of others. I think Lupita Nyong'o was confirmed. Some total unknowns. Of course, we got Chewbacca and R2-D2 and 3PO coming back. It's just glorious. And it's like, John Schnepp on AMC Movie Talk he made just this statement, it was like a couple weeks ago, but he's like, I remember back in the 90s, it was like Lucas, we all thought he was lying. Generally all thought like, oh, Lucas was just kidding about the other 3 Star Wars. There's never going to be a 7, 8, 9. That's just far off fantasy talk. Like, I distinctly remember my sister would tell me about that, and I would just be like, oh, no. Oh, that's never going to happen. Oh, that's so far off. Because it's like, first of all, they had to go through the prequels, and we all know how the prequels turned out. So it's like, the fact that they're actually getting Fisher, Ford, and Hamill back together to reprise their roles, and they're age appropriate. It's insane. It's absolute insanity. I can't wait. I'm not even that big of a Star Wars fan, to tell you the truth. Quite frankly, I'm a bit of a hipster when it comes to Star Wars. I think the whole thing's a little bit oversaturated, and it absolutely kills me inside to see Darth Vader kind of like turn into the pop culture joke that he's become. Like fucking Disney using him in Disney park commercials, like, oh, Darth Vader standing with stormtroopers in a Disney park map looking confused. It's like, no. By the way, stormtroopers in the Star Wars weekend dancing to modern day pop songs. What the fuck was that about? That made me fucking sick. Sorry. Hold it together. Just have to get that off my chest. Stormtroopers dancing to modern day pop songs should never happen. But I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about. So, Episode 7. Basically, we're going to talk about the directors. And to start out with J.J. Abrams, I am not huge on Mr. Abrams. I appreciated Super 8. I think it got a little bit wonky on its, towards the finale, but it was a good movie. It definitely had a good kind of kid cast. It very much felt like something like The Goonies or Stand By Me, at least in terms of like, the dynamic. Like it felt like a real group of friends. So that's what I appreciated about it. But JJ, he's got this very cinematic style. Star Wars is very near and dear to his heart. So I'm all for giving J.J. Abrams the first Star Wars movie. Really, it's fine with me. Like it's definitely not the first choice I would go with. It seems like a safe choice, but that's the word. It's safe, It's like J.J. Abrams, he's a proven sci-fi director. I thought the first Star Trek was okay. I thought Into Darkness also okay. I mean, I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, so I didn't get, like, caught up in the whole, like, comparisons to Wrath of Khan, but it is annoying just to know about it. But, so with Star Wars, I hope he takes it in a new direction. I hope it's not just, like, just a nostalgia fest of the original trilogy. That's what I'm genuinely like. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely stuff in the original trilogy that we need to see. Of course, I'm excited as anyone else to see visual cues like the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that from the original trilogy come back. But he's got to create his own sort of style to it. And I feel like the JJ style And it's funny because the Star Trek movies have always felt more like Star Wars movies. So in that respect, I think he's going to do a good job. I think episode 7 is going to be a nice, good popcorn movie. It's going to be great to see all the characters back in action, of course. But then we get to episode 8, and this is where I'm really fucking excited. When JJ was announced, I was always kind of like, yeah, I'm cool with it, but I don't want it to turn into a situation like Harry Potter with David Yates, where his style just kind of overran the latter half of that film series, and it's like, it was so interesting to see different people direct the film series of Harry Potter, and then Yates came in, so it kind of gave that whole series a bit of like a, okay, here's one half Columbus, and then a couple weird directors, and then Yates is going to round it off. So I didn't want to see the whole series under one director, especially someone like JJ, who, he's good for popcorn films, and I'm sure he's going to do a good job. Story-wise, not necessarily the best guy. In fact, I'm very hesitant about the fact that Michael Arndt is not working on the screenplay like he originally was, but that's a whole different story. But I just didn't want to see JJ's style just overrun the entire course of this new trilogy. Because I feel like, you know, let's face it, one can only handle so many lens flares before they go fucking blind. I'm just kidding. But I'm very incredibly happy to find out that the new Star Wars trilogy is going to be much like the original Star Wars trilogy, different in the series of directors that it takes on. I think that's going to make it much like the original trilogy, kind of have each film stand on its own, have a unique feel to it. I'm actually hoping that Rian Johnson doesn't direct episode 9, even though it looks like he's writing it. He's probably going to direct it at this point. I hope they go with a different person for all 3 movies. But let me talk about Rian Johnson for a second, because he's the big name right now. This is a guy that was really high up there for me. Number two after Brad Bird, and I still hope to God that we see Brad Bird direct one of these movies. Probably if we see Brad Bird direct a Star Wars movie, it'll probably be a spin-off, but hey, I still want to see that. I think Brad Bird's an amazing director. I think he's got a love for the franchise. It'd be a great mix, but I digress. Rian Johnson, yeah. After Brad Bird, he was my number 2 choice. Guy hasn't directed much. In fact, I haven't actually seen his first 2 movies. He directed Elephant, which I've heard is like really good. I need to check that out. And also The Brothers Bloom with Adrian Brody and Mark Ruffalo. That actually, I remember seeing trailers for that and looking and kind of wanted to see it. I just never got around to it for some reason. So that's kind of funny. And then he directed Looper, which was kind of his big breakout movie. Looper is a movie, I really liked it. There were certain elements that kind of annoyed me, like I didn't think Bruce Willis was in it nearly enough, and I thought it concentrated on, I'm not going to get into the plot, but Looper, one thing that Looper did incredibly well was establish its world and establish its sci-fi ideas, and that's something that you need for a Star Wars movie. So, on top of Looper, we also got 3 really good episodes of Breaking Bad. We got The Fly, which of course is a famous episode. It's like the one episode of Breaking Bad that's set in one location. It's set in the lab, and they're trying to kill the Fly the whole time. It's a great episode. It's a really polarizing episode. We've got the episode 51. Honestly, the only thing I remember about this particular episode is I remember it's the episode that if I remember correctly, it's the episode that Skylar pulls her little stunt where she walks into the pool. And then we have the episode Ozymandias, which, of course, all Breaking Bad fans know. Vince Gilligan said that it is his favorite episode of Breaking Bad of all time. So just in the 3 episodes of Breaking Bad that Rian Johnson's directed, he's established a really cool style for himself. And I am just incredibly excited to see it come to light in a Star Wars movie. And like I said, this is what I was hoping for. Like, I usually don't get my way when it comes to shit like this. Like, I've been wanting to see Michael Emerson play the Riddler for years and years, and I doubt that's ever going to happen. But I'm just flabbergasted. It's my choice to direct Star Wars actually came true, and he's directing Episode 8. And the this is I think Episode 7. Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see everyone back together. I'm actually kind of more focused on Episode 8, especially because they went this ballsy route with the director. This guy, he's only directed R-rated movies, I believe. He's only directed one sci-fi movie, although granted it was a really good sci-fi movie. Plot was a little iffy here and there, but like I said, it established its world and its ideas really well, which is, pretty much the primary objective for sci-fi movies. And Breaking Bad, so it's like he's got a very adult-orientated catalog under his belt up until this point, so it's really interesting. Like I said, just straight up ballsy, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. I don't necessarily like the choice of Gareth Edwards to direct a spin-off. I don't know. Godzilla was a disappointment. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I know people love Godzilla, but there have been so many other movies that came out this summer. I mean, namely, to name 3, X-Men Days of Future Past, 22 Jump Street, How to Train Your Dragon 2. It just blew Godzilla out of the water quality-wise. I even saw Monsters. Monsters was better than Godzilla character-wise, but it still had a very slow pace to it. And Gareth Edwards, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I appreciate slow pace as much as the next guy. I don't necessarily think slow pace is going to work so well in a Star Wars movie. Although, granted, it is a spin-off, so we'll have to see, the tone of the spin-off and what he does with it. But yeah, back to Rian Johnson. I mean, all I can say is I love the guy's style, the few things I've seen, mostly the Breaking Bad stuff. It's just like they got a prominent Breaking Bad director to do Star Wars. It's like, how cool is that? And the big thing to keep in mind with Episode 8. Episode 8 is the middle of the franchise. Usually the middle of the franchise is the darkest, and that is proven by the, of course, legendary Empire Strikes Back. Probably bar none, or at least in the top 3 greatest sequels ever made. Like, that movie is everything about how to do a sequel. So, but, of course, everyone knows Empire Strikes Back is the darkest of the Star Wars saga, and that's what makes it so good. So I really think, especially with Rian Johnson, that they are going for a dark vibe. Like, they're really planning on making Episode 8 the Empire Strikes Back of this new trilogy, which, of course, it should be. I mean, I say that, and that goes without saying, but think about it. The middle of the last trilogy was fucking Attack of the Clones, which was just abysmal. So, I mean, of course, all the prequels were abysmal, but I digress. Yeah. Episode 8. I'm really stoked for Episode 8 now. Like, I'm going to go into Star Wars Episode 7, and I'm going to probably, hopefully, really enjoy it. Crossing my fingers on that. But I'm going to be optimistic about it. I can't wait to see a trailer. I mean, God, I'm like fanboying out about this, and I'm not even a Star Wars fanboy. So that just tells you how huge this new Star Wars shit is going to be. I can't wait to see a trailer. But like I said, I'm going to go into Episode 8, like, mostly being like, okay, what's going to be the lead-in? Or, I'm sorry, I'm going to go into Episode 7 being like, okay, what's going to be the lead-in into Episode 8? Oh, it's just all really exciting. I can't believe everything's coming together. And like I said, my choices to direct shit never come true. So, well done on my end for actually picking that. Granted, it wasn't my number one choice. Like I said, Brad Bird's my number one choice to do a Star Wars. But, yeah, Rian Johnson, strict number 2. And he got it. So that's all I'd say. I feel like I'm kind of just running in circles and repeating myself. I just want to make a video about this because, I don't think there's a ton to say about it, but I just think it's really exciting. Like I said, I think it's a very, very good thing. Like, I cannot overstate how much of a good thing I think it is that they are not just going for one director to do the whole thing. And that it's not just going to be J.J. Abrams' Star Wars trilogy. No, Star Wars, I feel, works best when it's done by a number of different people. That's why the original trilogy works so well. I mean, it's like granted, I'm all for, it's like we have certain things like Lord of the Rings, for example. I mean, that was one consistent vision. Basically, it's one big story broken up into 3 movies. But with Star Wars, it's just, you can do so much with it, and you can go in so many different directions, and the movies can have such varied tones that I am very glad that Disney realized this and realized that that worked well for that original trilogy, and it gave all 3 of those films in that original trilogy their own distinct flavor. You say what you will about Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi still has a very distinct, like, 80s fantasy feel to it compared to Empire Strikes Back's hard sci-fi. So I'm really excited that Disney didn't just pull the safe route and just get JJ to direct the whole thing. Cannot overstate that enough. JJ, like I said, I think JJ was a safe choice for Star Wars Episode 7, and I can't say I'm jumping up and down about it, but I'm sure he'll do a solid job. Like, visually, I'm sure he'll do great. It's more the story I'm kind of worried about. But, yeah. Like I said, I'm just kind of running in circles, repeating everything I've said before. So, like I said, cannot overstate enough how I think going with multiple directors in this trilogy is a very good thing. So that's all I have to say. What do you guys think about it? Do you guys agree with me, or would you rather see J.J. Abrams kind of direct the whole thing and have the trilogy have a more consistent vision all the way through? It's an interesting question, I think. And while you're at it, go to sywtbai.com for all your armchair Imagineering needs. We got forums, we got open brainstorming, we got discussions, we got a small, tight, little knit community, but it's not like a big forum where you go in and, you're just overwhelmed. No, it's like, if you come to our community, you will be welcome, you will be loved, you will be adored, because we welcome every single member of our community with open arms. So yeah, sywtbai.com for all your armchair Imagineering needs. In the meantime, if you like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll be talking about Star Wars and plenty of other things along the way. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. May the flies be with you.